Morning everybody, different angle today, so fingers crossed we're not going to have a problem with any shadows or anything like that. So as I say, fingers crossed everything should be or run a little bit smoother this morning. It's all right, I've got the giggles at the moment because my daughter's just come in and she got a henna kit for through the post yesterday, something that she'd ordered off of Amazon. So she's done this really lovely henna on her hand. But she went to sleep last night and she slept like this. So now she's got this really lovely henna pattern on the side of her face as well. So I think it's just as well the kids aren't going back to school, because I think they might just have something to say about it. So that did make me giggle, And I've got an itchy neck this morning, so I do apologise. I keep scratching. So anyway, right, so today, this is the card that we're making. Unfortunately, I have now a very kind friend of mine, Maiko, sent me a link to YouTube to show me how I can reverse mirror effect my my videoing, so that I can turn these around so they're around the right way. But I just haven't had a chance yet to do that. So that is something that I will hopefully be doing this afternoon. But this is the card that I'm going to be doing today. Okay. So we are using the Wow Changers. These are relatively new. Morning, Linda. Hi, Jane. Hi, Debbie. Yeah, they're relatively new. I haven't been around very long. They are these. This is how they come. Morning, Margaret. I'm glad to see you joining us again as well. Thank you. So this is the box that they come in. And as I say, these I think they were launched earlier this year over in Germany or in the USA, not too sure. But morning, Jean. Morning, Hazel. How are you getting on with Jelly Plate, Hazel? Hi, Elaine. Right, okay. So without further ado, let me just give you a little bit more information about these. So okay, it's all right. I'm just reading something there. I don't know who that is, but we'll just ignore that comment. So anyway, right. So we've got, this is how they come in a little box. And you get 6 of these in there. Okay. Now you get the 3 at the back. The 3 are empty pots. Mine aren't empty because obviously I've been using them. But if you ordered them, morning Dawn, pleased to see you, they will be empty. Okay, because these are your mixing pots. The 3 pots at the front, okay, you get a sheen and you get a glisten and you get a texture. Okay, hi Sheila. And they all come in a nice little folder, a nice little container like that. Okay, now let me show you. So I'm going to be using Oasis today, and once Oasis has been heated, this is what it looks like. Okay, nice and shiny, just as it is. But when you add one of the changes, and I'm going to show you how to do that. So this is sheen, so you can see it slightly changes the colour and you get that lovely sheen on it as well. Can you see that? I think you can just about see that. Okay. Then if you take this one again, the Oasis, and you add glisten to it, you can change it to that. Okay, so you get, again, it's lighter, but you get that lovely glisteny. Glisteny, is that a word? I think it is actually. But you get that lovely that lovely glisten effect. Okay. Then, so we start off with that again, and then we mix the texture. Now this is actually quite difficult to see, but if you can hear, it's really textured. I know the glistens are beautiful. It's such a good pack because it just makes these guys go further, okay? Because basically these are just additives and they're going into your existing embossing powders and they're just making them stretch so much further so that you can do so many more lovely things with them. But that's the effect from the texture one. So it's quite sort of, almost feels a bit like sandpaper. So that's your three effects. You've got texture, you've got sheen, and you've got glisten. And as I say, they are all added to the original one, which is Oasis. So, as you can see, you can get a really lovely ombre effect. So this is the card. So that's starting with Oasis at the top. And then I've added some of my sheen changer to this middle section. And then I've added some more to the bottom section so that you end up with this really lovely ombre effect. Okay. Right, so I think that's everything that I need to show you to start with. So I'm going to turn you around and I'm going to pop you down and I'm going to show you how to create that card. So I'm going to be using my changes. I'm going to be using a Funky Fossil stencil. There we go. Oh, no. Funky Fossil stencil. Okay. I'm going to also be using my Pink and Main stamps, Pink and Main die, Oasis, some enamel accents, my Distress Oxide in weathered wood, and of course my Wow embossing pad in clear. So I've already pre-cut my card. So this is about 5 3/4 of an inch square, maybe just a little, maybe 5.5 inches square. And what I'm going to do to start with is I'm going to take my anti-static pad and I'm just going to rub that all over. Okay. And for anybody that's not done this before, basically the anti-static pad does what it says. It takes the static out of the card. We also get a lot of natural oil on our hands, and obviously that comes off on the card as well. So when we're embossing, it's quite static. So any oils or anything on the paper itself, the embossing powder will stick to it. Okay, so you need to just pop your anti-static pad over the top. You still might get a little bit sticking to it, but it won't be as much, and you can just take off any excess that you don't want with a little paintbrush before you heat emboss it. Okay, right, so I'm taking my Funky Fossil stencil and I'm going to lay that over the top in the middle. Okay, I'm just then going to add some very low tack tape, which is Sweet Poppy low tack tape. It's the best on the market. Everything else tends to pull, but this one doesn't. It is very low tack, and it doesn't pull any of your card when you use it. Well, I've not had it do that at all up to date. Okay, so I'm going to take my Wow embossing pad and I'm going to take my smoothie. Okay, I'm going to use a smoothie doing this because I just find, especially using the larger end, is that I can be more controlled where I put the embossing ink. Plus also, I don't want a hard line, okay? I don't want a straight line. To get that nice ombre effect, I need it to sort of be a little bit jagged across there, so it sort of blends into each other. So we're going to pick up our ink onto our smoothie like so. And then I'm just going to pounce. Don't rub, okay, because you'll find it will slip under the stencil. But if you just pounce on top, and it doesn't matter if you go over some of the butterflies and not the others, because as I said, we want that just sort of that jagged effect. Okay, so I'm just going to go over that a couple of times so that I know that I've put plenty of embossing ink on there. I'm just going to put my top on, and I'm going to take this off. And then I'm going to get my Oasis embossing powder and just sprinkle that on top. And can you see the way that all the excess that was stuck on there a minute ago has just fallen away? If you do get some that you don't want on there, just get yourself a little brush, okay, and just brush it away like so, okay. And you have to do that before you heat it, because once it's heated, it stays there. It's not going to go anywhere. Okay, put my top back on because I do tend to be a bit clumsy and I do tend to knock my stuff all over the place. Right, taking my heat gun now. This heat gun is great for mixed media. Okay, I do like using it for mixed media. If I'm going to be totally honest, I don't like using it when I'm using my embossing powders. I much prefer my Wow heat gun, but my Wow heat gun is at the shop, so I am having to make do with what I've got at home. So my heat gun of preference for doing this sort of thing is the Wow one. So I am just going to heat this up. I'm just going to bring my heat gun up to temperature first before I put it on my page. And you'll see when this is ready, it will go shiny. So if you angle it, it's going to be really difficult for me to show you. No, you can't see it at all there. It's going to be really difficult for me to show you when it's changed, but basically it just goes really glossy. You have to catch it under the light. So let me do this one and then I will show you. What you don't want to do is you don't want to be wafting. Okay, wafting is this. You then get an uneven setting of heat. If you just keep it in one place, move it along, as soon as it's done and it's glossy, then you'll end up with a nice embossed. Can you see that? Yeah, you can catch that now, can't you? Yep, so that's nice and glossy, embossed image. Okay, without any scorching. If you overheat your image, what happens is it will drop. Okay, you'll scorch the paper, which will obviously let it go. It will go like a yellowy colour, but also your embossed image, whereas when you run your finger over it, obviously once it's not hot anymore, otherwise you will smudge it and you'll burn yourself, but you can feel that that's embossed. Okay, if it's overheated, it will drop and it will just be flat, and you'll also lose that lovely shine. Okay, so that's my first bit. Now for the second bit, we're going to start using our changers. So I'm going to do Sheen. Okay, this is the one that I've used on this one for anybody that's just joined us. So I'm going to use Sheen. I'm going to take one of my empty bottles. Now, when you're using these powders, these are all anti-static, so these little pots are anti-static. Okay, you need a metal spoon. Okay, because you don't want to put the static back in there if you use plastic or anything like that, so you want a metal spoon. Now, I know Marion has got these really lovely little measuring spoons. They're little round ones and they fit perfectly in there. I need to source those. I need to find out where she got those from because they're brilliant. This one, I struggle a little bit because I can't get it in the top, but there we go. Once I find, or if anybody's got metal measuring spoons and they can tell me where they got them, it would be much appreciated. So what I have to do is I have to pop this on here. So I'm going to put a good spoonful of that, if you can see. So that's a good spoonful. I'm going to pour it all over myself into my pot. Okay, I'm then going to give that a wipe because what I don't want to do is contaminate my pot of Sheen, because obviously we're going to need this for other projects. Let's just throw that down now. It's me that has to do the hoovering later. So right, so I've got 1 spoonful of Oasis and I'm going to put 1 spoonful of Sheen. Oh gosh, I've got the shakes this morning. I'm going to put a little bit more in there because I just shook half of that onto my bit of paper. Okay, and again, make sure you just wipe that. Okay. Hi Tanya. Yeah, you can catch up later. That's no problem. That's the one we're doing, my lovely. Okay. Yeah, I know you've got your. Oh, you got yours. Oh, Martine, I know you've got the changes, Martine. But you got yours in Asda. Trip to Asda later then. Or Yeah, maybe not at the moment. Right, sorry, let me just clean myself up here. Right. Okay, so I'm going to put my lids on because I don't want any spillages, and I'm just going to give that a shake. Okay. Right, so let's take our stencil, and we can line that up really easily because the butterfly is a really easy design to line back up and stick that down. Okay, I'm going to go back in with my wow pad. I'm going to ink that up again, and I'm going to tap. I'm going to slightly go over where I've been before, which you can quite easily see, because I do want that to overlap a little bit so I don't get any harsh lines. Okay, so again, I'm just going to go over that a little bit again. Okay, and I'm going to take that off, put that to one side, and this should be a little bit, so let me do it this way so that you can see. There we go. So give it a tap, make sure it comes off where you want it. If there's any little areas where you've got some embossing powder that you don't want, just give it a rub and give it a tap. But can you see the colour difference there already? That's a really, really pretty really, really pretty ombre thing. Yeah, thanks, Keith. Anybody that doesn't know, that's my husband. Oh dear. Makes it sound like it's him that does the blooming hoovering. Of course I will. Pleased you're enjoying it, Eileen. Butt out, Keith. That's made me chuckle. Okay, so now we're going to heat that up. How dare you comment on my Facebook lives? How very rude. Okay, so without burning our fingers, we're going to turn that again. So no wafting. Some people like to heat from behind. To be quite honest with you, when you're doing a design like this, it doesn't really make a lot of difference. Okay, that's beautiful. Okay, that's done. So now you can see, there we go. If I angle that, can you see that gloss? There you go. You can see that's nice and glossy. Okay, and you can see the colour change as well. Right, so in for the next one, now we're going to add just a little bit of Oasis this time. Okay, so I'm just going to do just a little bit. I'm going to try not to, there we go, can you see? Just a little bit there. So if you had measuring spoons, I would say 1 spoon. So for the first layer, you use all the just the plain Oasis. Okay, when you add your changes, I would use 1 spoonful of Oasis, 1 spoonful of Sheen. Going into the next one, I would add just a little bit, maybe a half a spoonful, and then another whole spoonful of Sheen, because you want that to be lighter. Okay, so a whole spoonful of Sheen. And again, give it a wipe. Always remember to give it a wipe. I'm going to pop that over here. Pop the top on this one. And give this a shake. Okay. So, we're now going to go back in with our... I'm going to go back in with our stencil. We're going to line that up. Oh, that's why I'm having trouble. Would help if I had it round the right way. Okay, there we go. I know, I need to mirror my camera. Yes, I've already said that. I'm going to have a look at that later. Oh dear. Right, okay. Now, I am going to just ink up along the bottom like I did last time. Okay, again, just going over what I've already done very, very slightly. I'm going to go over that just a couple of times. Take that off. We've finished with that now, so that can have a wipe. Take your last, do you know what, I'm going to add just a tad, just a little bit more to that. And the nice thing is that you can keep all these and use them again. I've got lots of little spare pots of these, so I tend to keep them all and I'll write on them what's what. Okay, that's the last bit. That's the lightest bit. And can you see here, look, that's where my fingers have been. So I've got that, that's why the powder is stuck. So let's just wipe that off with a brush, like so. Pour that back in. And then we're going to heat that. So that's basically how the changes work. So obviously if I'd have done that in a glisten, it would be really sparkly. If I'd have done that in a texture, it would feel like sandpaper. It'd be quite rough. So let's just heat this and then I can take you onto the next part. But I think you'll agree, this is a really pretty stencil, and it really lends itself well. It really lends itself well to this technique. There we go. Okay, so that's our finished. That's our finished item. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to cut that down very slightly. So I'm just going to take about not a centimetre, a ½ centimetre off each side. Okay, so I end up with that. I think you're right, Tanya. I think we should get Keith to join us and show his crafting abilities. Very crafty. I don't know if there's the type of craftiness that we're all used to, but there you go. Right, so I'm going to put that to one side for the moment because now I'm going to create the smile. Okay? That's all right, Tanya. What he can do later is he can sort out the video for me so that it's not back to front, so it's a mirror image. He can do that for me. Give him something to do. He's obviously bored at work. Right, okay, so I'm going to take my die cutting machine, piece of white cardstock. The cardstock that I'm using today is Paper Mill White Smoothie 300 GSM. It is my favourite go-to cardstock for all of this. It really takes the colour well. Okay, so this is my Pink and Main smile. Now, I can't be dealing with the dot on the top. That's just too much like hard work trying to get that embossed, etc. So that's why I've used on there. You'll see I've got an enamel accent to do that. That's what I've done there. That's all right, Louise. You can always watch me back. It's nice that you're here, so thanks for joining. Let's put that out the way. So here's my smile. I'm just going to take all the little bits out of there. I'll throw those on the floor so that Keith can hoover those up later. Right, okay, so again, I'm going to go back in with my smoothie and my embossing pad, and I am just going to put some ink halfway down my smile. I thought this card was quite apt actually for at the moment, because I do miss everybody's smiles. Oh, and happy 1st of April, everybody. Hope nobody's done any April Fools, because I actually don't think it's probably the right time at the moment to be doing stuff like that, but there you go. Okay, so we're going to take our Oasis again. Morning, Ginny. Hi, Val. You're feeding your guinea pigs. Well, that is a priority, Val. We can't have hungry guinea pigs. So don't worry, I will be posting this straight onto my business page, the Forget Me Not Craft Cabin, and also onto my personal page, Sharon Everett. So you can watch it back. Oh, excuse me. So you can watch me back if you want to. Okay, so as you can see there, I've got half a smile and the bottom half is still white. Put our lid on that, keep it out of the way, and then we're going to heat this up. So because that's going to be really difficult to hold on to, and I'll end up burning my fingers, and I actually don't have any tweezers here, I'm going to keep it on my page. Okay, keep it on here. And again, I'm not wafting. I'm just waiting till that changes and goes that really beautiful, shiny. Just moving the embossing tool along as it heats. And that is what you will end up with. Okay. Right, so what I've done is I've used weathered wood here. So I've done my background in weathered wood. Let me show you, sorry. I've done my background in weathered wood, and I've done the bottom of my smile in weathered wood, so I can pull the whole card together. Okay, I do, you're right, I do, Tanya. I need some clip it tools. I did have some, and I think they're down the shop, but yeah, you're absolutely spot on. Make sure I put that on my next order. So we're going to pull all this in together, okay, and that will yeah, we're going to pull all that in together. So let's do that now. So we're going to take our oxide, which is weathered wood, and I'm going to take my smoothie, and I am just going to pop my colour at the bottom of my smile. The good thing about you do it this way round, okay, because if you get any over the Oasis colour, you can just wipe it off. Okay, so that's my smile. Put that to one side for the moment. And I need my piece of card. Here we go. So this is going to be my background card. So that fits on there like so. And I'm just going to ink this up so that it matches the bottom of my smile. I'm not too worried about getting lines or anything like that, because you are only going to see the very edge of this. So I'm not colouring the whole thing. I'm just going around the edge. And you can see how well this card takes that ink. Look at that, beautiful. And again, around this side. And last of all, across the top. And using the smoothie, you can get it nice and thick. So, okay, let's pop that to one side. Bring that piece of paper over, and you can see that it's all coming together now. So, there we go. Okay, now to get that nice sort of feathered edge, which just breaks up that white, just makes it a little bit not so harsh, I'm going to pick my card up and I am just going to go around the edge like so. So I'm not going to put, or not at the moment, I'm not going to put any more colour on my smoothie because I want it to be quite light. Okay. My thing is that you can always add more to it. Okay, you put too much on and that's it. You can't really take it off. But if you don't put enough on, you can always add a little bit more. There we go. Okay. So that's just going around the edge, and you can see when I now put that against there, how much softer that looks. Okay. Right. So the last little bit is I miss your, okay, so it's I miss your smile. So I've got a little bit of card somewhere. Let's have a look. Here we go. We can use this bit. and I'm using Pink and Main, which is a set that matches Smile. So they've got lots of other sentiments on there. They've got it looks so good on you, I love your smile, you have the best smile, be happy and smile, I miss your smile, big smiles. So there's lots and lots on there. I'm going to use my colour box in Cloud for this one and just tap. You don't have to push very hard on this because you don't want it to splay out. I'm just going to pop that there. And that is I Miss Your. Cut that down to size. Actually, that's a little bit wonky. So I'm going to try just to even that up a little bit. I think I might have just made that worse. Yeah, I have. Look at that. Cocked it up. Let's do another one. So just very quickly. That's better. That's better. There we go. Much better. So let me just chop this down to size. Save all those little bits of card because they're brilliant for your little sentiments. I'm just going to chop a little bit off that end so it marries up the same. There we go. Right, let's pop this out of the way. Now I'm going to take my smoothie again and I am just going to run that around the edge of my sentiment. And then we're going to put it all together. Okay, that's that done. Right, so to pop it all together, I need some double-sided tape, or you can use glue. It's entirely up to you, whatever you prefer. I'm going to use tape just because when you've been using quite a bit of embossing powder and inks and heat, your card can get a little bit on the warped side, so the double-sided tape just holds that down in place better than adding more glue. So this is finger lift tape from Woodware, which we hold stock of in the shop, and we also have the changes in the shop if anybody is interested. I'm going to add that in the middle. There we go. So there we go. There's that. I'm going to put a few foam pads on the back of my Miss Your. And these little things, don't ever throw those away, okay? Because even though you've taken the dots out, you can peel the back off and you can use that as a foam pad as well. So just a little top tip there. You know how we like to be frugal. Right, okay, take those off. I'm going to pop that on. Did I not take that? Yes, I did, yeah. So I Miss Your can go there, and then using my Cosmic Shimmer glue, which is an acrylic based glue. We stock it in the shop. It is my go-to glue. I don't use anything else. And I'm just tapping that around my die cut smile. Okay, I'm going to pop that. I want the smile to come further down because I want it to be on the lighter part of the heart so that it shows up. So I'm just going to pop that there. There we go. So that's my smile. That will then go onto a card blank like this one has. And I am just going to add my enamel accents. So again, enamel accents are like your glossy accents, but they're in a colour. So again, you don't shake them If you get an air bubble in them, just prick them with a pin. And then you have to obviously leave them to dry. And that is your finished card. So, let me just pop myself back. I hope you all enjoyed that today. Tomorrow I'll be back at 11 o'clock again, and I am going to be using the other Tracy Scott plate ETS 39, which is probably my favourite. I think it's absolutely stunning. And I'm also going to be using this. Okay, this is PS 188, and it's the Tracy Scott stencil. And also I have had a sneak. I've actually got the Tracy Scott, what they called, lace booklets 1 and 2. I can't show you them at the moment because they haven't been released by Paper Artsy. But if anybody is interested in them, then I can inbox you a picture of them because they are absolutely stunning. Absolutely stunning. Anyway, that's it from me today. Thank you so much for tuning in with me, and I hope you all have a lovely day, and I will see you again tomorrow, fingers crossed, at 11 AM. Take care, everybody. Love to all. Bye.